Let's add variants to our custom mob. More in-depth topics for Minecraft modding available in the 121 modding courses linked below, covering writable and tameable entities, custom entity armor, and even custom entity inventories, among many more awesome topics. Alright, finally back in IntelliJ once more, and in this tutorial we'll be adding variants to our entity over here. That is of course going to be our gecko entity, and of course we have the gecko entity right here in Blockbench. And in theory, if you have downloaded the Blockbench file, this is going to be available to you again. But basically the idea is that it has, well, different textures over here that we can have, and those are going to be our 4 different variants. And the idea here is that these different textures are now going to be added as different variants, so it can spawn in any of these different colors. So for this, we're going to basically export all 4 of the different colors over here. Now I've already done this. I'm going to show you this one more time. So basically you go onto the textures, you right click, save as, and then you save it as whatever you want. In this case, this is going to be gecko_green because that was the green color over here. And there we go. And that's the whole idea. And you're going to just export all of them, name them whatever you want, and then we can proceed within IntelliJ. How about we add all of the textures already? This is going to be assets, tutorial mode textures, entity gecko, and then here it's going to be brown, green, and pink over here for the gecko colors. Those are going to be the 4 different colors. Blue is obviously the default one that we've already added, and then we're going to see. Now for the variant itself, this is going to work kind of like this. Let's go into our entity package, and we're going to make a new Java class called the gecko variant over here. There we go. And this one's going to be quite interesting. Now this one is going to be an enum, and it's basically going to enumerate all of our different variants that we have. So we're going to have blue over here. We're going to add the parentheses, and we're not going to add anything in there just yet, but that will be needed in a second. We're going to have pink over here, and the last one is going to be brown, and there we go. Now, when we have an enum, we are going to make this particular enum an advanced enum. So we're going to have a gecko variant over here, which is going to be the constructor with an int ID, and then all of a sudden, all of our different enumerations are going to turn to errors because now you need to add an ID over here. We're going to do exactly this. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, and 3. Fairly straightforward, nothing too crazy. We want to save this ID. It's going to be a private final int ID. And this is going to be inside of the constructor. This ID is equal to the ID parameter. Okay, so far, nothing too crazy. We also want to get the ID, and to get the ID, we're simply going to override the getID method, or, basically add it, and the IntelliJ basically immediately understands, oh, we want to return ID over here. So that is super freaking simple, nothing too crazy. Now to properly access the proper variant, we also want a private static final gecko variant, and this is going to be a gecko variant array. I'm going to call this by_ID, and this is equal to a little bit of a crazy thing, but you'll see, basically, I'm going to explain in a second. Or arrays.stream, passing in values, so this is the values method over here. Then after the second closing parentheses, sorted, and then inside of the sorted, we're going to do a comparator, comparing int, gecko variant, : ID, after the second closing parentheses, to array, and then passing in gecko variant, and then this is a gecko variant array, : new. This looks pretty freaking crazy. However, if I were to, let's for example, press the shift key twice and we look at the horse variant, you'll find something very, very interesting. This is just the variant, also quite interesting, but it's called variant, and you can see this is almost the same thing. Now this one actually now has an by ID map. So they actually have made a custom util class for this, pretty crazy. Before they basically just had this thing, which also works. It's the same idea, and it's super freaking simple. It's always going to look like this, no matter how many variants you have, right? I could have 100 different variants in theory, and the basic setup of this class is always going to be the same. We're also going to have a static geckolib variant over here called by ID, where you pass in the ID and you simply return by ID, and then pass in ID modulo by_ID.length. That is it. And that is going to be the entire variant class, or variant enum. Super freaking simple. That is literally all you need. And now you just add more variants if you have more variants. Or of course, if you have less, then you remove them. That's pretty much all you need to do in this case. Of course, here it is extremely important that this should be very much just basic Java, but obviously the variants themselves are separated by commas, and the last one here ends with a semicolon. I don't know if I need to explain this again, but this should be at this point, Java 101 should be fairly self-explanatory. So that is the variant class, or the variant enum, that basically saves the variants. And now the question is, how do we save the variant itself? Well, we're going to save this with the ID. And that's going to happen inside of the gecko entity with the following thing, with a private static final entity data accessor, this one right here, of type integer. There we go. And we're going to call this the variant. This is going to be equal to synced entity data dot define ID, passing in geckolib entity dot class. And the second parameter here is the entity data serializers dot int, or also called int. Now this is quite interesting. What is this insanity? Well, as a highest level overview, really what the only thing you need to know for entity data accessors right now is that they are a very easy way to have a certain piece of data. So in this case, the integer, which could also be all sorts of other things. If we look at the serializer over here, it could be a float, a string, even a component. So this would basically mean, almost anything. You could have a block state, a Boolean. You could save a lot of different things over here. And these will be automatically synchronized via server and client, which is super freaking useful because that basically makes everything like super simple and streamlined. And then of course, when we have this, we need a bunch of things. We're going to add this under this variant over here because most of the stuff that comes below here is going to be the variant. First of all, every time you have a entity data accessor, you need to call the define synced data method. And inside of it, we're going to keep the super and then say builder.define, passing in the variant that we have, and then the value, the default value here is 0. This needs to be the case. If this is not there, then it is not going to work at all. Okay, very, very important. Then for the variant itself, we're going to have 3 methods. Those methods are going to be a private int get type variant. This is going to be returning this.entityData.get, passing in variant. So this is the way that you access the entity data. You don't just use the variant itself. You say entityData.get and then passing in whatever you want. Like you pass in the entity data accessor and that accesses the data. We then have a public gecko variant. This is going to be our get variant method, which obviously, well, gets you the actual variant. The way to do this is to return gecko variant. So this is going to be the gecko variant enum.byId, passing in this.getType variant, and then we're going to do a bitwise AND over here with 255. I'm still not 100% sure why or if we need this, but this is the same thing that we have in the horse. So if we were to go to the horse class, so shift twice, put in horse, include non-project items, and we go to the horse and we look at the get variant, it does the same thing. I am a little bit unsure, okay? This is a little bit crazy. I think this just means that basically we can only ever have 255 variants. I feel like that's going to be enough variants, right? Same thing in the private void set variant method, where we're going to add in a gecko variant over here as the parameter. This is where we say this.entityData.set, and we're setting the variant to variant, so the variant that we've passed in over here, .getID, and then once again, bitwise 255. I think that should be fine, and we should pretty much be good to go. Now, those are the 3 methods to basically get and set the variant. And now we need to also, well, save the variant and also assign a variant at the very beginning to this particular entity. To save this, we need to overwrite the add additional save data method, as well as the read additional save data method. Both of those have to be properly overridden. And then here we want to take the compound, put int. We're going to save this under variant. So the name is going to be variant. There we go. And then the second parameter is the thing that we want to save. In this case, get type variant, which is literally just going to take in the exact thing that we have written in the entity data. Instead of the read additional, we then are going to say this.entityData.set, and then we're going to set the variant to whatever the compound has. So compound.getInt, and then passing in the key variant again. The compound tags work very similar to a map, where you basically map a certain key over here to a certain value. So whenever we save the game, we're going to save variant over here. And then basically when we read it, we read that out. That's literally all these 2 methods do. And those are also quite important and also quite interesting because they do all sorts of different things. You can basically save anything in those if you want to. And then last but certainly not least, we want to overwrite the finalize spawn method, where this is where we basically say, hey, this is going to be our spawn for our entity, right? So this method gets called when this particular entity spawns, be it via a spawn egg, via, /summon, or via just normal spawning, anything like that. So here we're going to make a gecko variant, and it's going to be our variant equal to util.getRandom, passing in gecko variant.values. and then passing in this dot random. And then this set variant, passing in the variant. So idea is that we're going to randomly choose a variant. In this case, it is quite important that obviously you can also check the server level accessor, which is pretty much the level. So you can check in what biome are we, and then say, hey, we're just going to change that biome. You can spawn the group data. You can do all sorts of different things, right? Maybe certain geckos only spawn with certain difficulty. You can do all of those things. Additionally, when you have two, well, parents, so to speak, then what you can do is inside of the get breed offspring method, you can also change this one, right? Because this create over here, this one should return a gecko entity. And of course, in theory, what you could do is, just for the sake of argument, I just want to type this out. So this is going to be the baby over here. I'm pretty sure that this one should work, right? Here we go. And then you could baby set variant. And you could set the variant of the baby depending on either this, right? This dot variant, which is going to be the parent. And then here is the other parent. So you could do that as well. Keep that in mind that that would work absolutely. And that would basically then mean you could set the variant depending on what the variants of both parents are, right? So you can do all sorts of crazy stuff over here. You can make a custom method that sort of determines the likelihoods of certain variants crossing over each other. That's all up to you. I just wanted to tell you that that is possibly a thing that you could do. Now, the actual functionality under the hood means the variants are now saved. However, right now, if we were to jump into the game, all of them look exactly the same. Why is this the case? Well, of course, because the renderer only knows one particular texture. For this, we need to add a map. Now, this map is going to look kind of crazy, but it is going to be very easily understood and explained. We're going to have a private static final map. This map is going to be from gecko variant to a resource location. We're going to call this the location underscore by underscore variant equal to util.make, and we're going to make a maps.newEnum map, passing in a gecko variant.class. So gecko variant.class. After the first closing parentheses, map, and then this is going to be a consumer. So you see map, the little arrow, and then we put in curly brackets, and then inside of here, we can add this to the map. So map.put gecko variant blue, and then here we wanted to say, if the variant is blue, what is going to be our resource location? That is going to be exactly the resource location that we have here. So I'm just going to cut this out and add it here, and then a semicolon to end it. And we can do this 4 additional times, or 3 additional times, for green, for pink, and then the last one here is brown. And now, of course, the resource location that it points to has to change as well. So this is going to be underscore green underscore pink, so gecko underscore pink, and then here gecko underscore brown. And in the get texture location method, it is as easy as saying location by variant that get entity that get variant, because inside of the get texture location, we have access to whatever the gecko entity is that we are just trying to render, meaning that we can literally do, well, we can change the texture depending on whatever we have in the entity. We can even make the texture different if the health of the entity is at a certain level, things like that. Those are all possible. You could make the entity, bigger or smaller depending on the health it has, things like that. Those are all possible. I think that this is really cool, and I want you to play around with this as much as you want and as much as you can. Import this once, right? This is always my advice of you. Get this working once the way that I have it set up right here. Of course, for this, you can look in the description below in the GitHub repository, and you can, double check that everything is right. And once it works, then just go crazy and just try around a bunch of different things. Highly, highly recommend it. With this, though, we have everything we need. We've added the new textures over here. The textures will now be used depending on what variant the custom entity has over here, the gecko has, and it's going to spawn with a random variant when we spawn it. So with this done, let's jump into the game and see if it works. All right, friends, I'm back in Minecraft, and let's take a look over here. And if I spawn a couple of them, you can see they are all random variants over here. That's absolutely fantastic. And oh my god, they're now going crazy. If I were to breed a couple of them, then you'll also see that, as you can see, those should also be randomized. Now, interestingly enough, all of the babies are the same. Let me actually double check about this, because I feel like there's something about that that's kind of strange. So let's see if all of the babies will always be the default variant. There's another one, and these two is another default variant. I feel like at some point you run into the fact that maybe this is actually not randomized. So let's double check over here. I'm pretty sure that it always takes on the base variant over here. So obviously what you would have to do then is inside of the get breed offspring method, we would also need to check for this. So apparently the finalize spawn method actually does not get called when you use the get offspring. Very interesting, to be honest, but you know, obviously it's as simple as literally just doing the following, right? Just getting this. We're just gonna have the gecko entity over here. Gecko entity, that's gonna be the baby equal to this. And then the baby variant is just going to be a random one as well. And all of a sudden, with this small change, it now friggin' works. Let's go. So we have a different baby entity there. Absolutely fantastic. And that is custom variants. Look at all those friggin' geckos over here. Custom variants added to our custom entity. Awesome. And that's going to be it for this tutorial right here. Next time in this video, we'll spawn the entity inside of the world. Hope to see you there. So, yeah.